What's up, everybody? This is the Foam Finger. My name is Parker, and I'm with a special guest.
Hey, I'm Holly Carlton. I play beach volleyball at LSU, played indoor at Florida in undergrad, and I'm excited to be on the show today. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm glad to have you today. Just to kind of get into it, you mentioned that you went to Florida, and now you're at LSU. What is that transfer been like? You're one of three graduate transfers from different schools.
Yeah, so the fall was super interesting because I was a newcomer on the team, but the oldest by far. Like, there's a pretty big age difference at this point. This is my sixth year in college due to a red shirt from indoor and then a COVID season. So it's been a fine line to walk of having a lot of experience just with being a college athlete, with competing in big moments, but also being new to the sport of beach volleyball and new to the school and the team. So fall was really fun trying to build those relationships, but definitely a transition to be made.
Yeah, for sure. You specifically had quite the resume at Florida with 15 kills against Georgia, 73.3 hitting percentage against Missouri, 55 assists on your now current team, ABCA All-American Honorable Mention, ABC 2020 ABCA All Southeast Region, 2020 All SEC team. So like bringing all that to now LSU and pretty much a new environment in beach volleyball. What is that change been like from indoor to outdoor?
Yeah, the change has been really fun because I feel like I'm able to go back to a beginner mindset again. So the older you get through your college career, the more experience that you have, the more responsibility that you have too. So there is a lot of pressure that builds throughout your career to perform well. Like, you know, this skill, you've done it over and over. And coming to my first speech practice, it was like there's officially no expectations. As much as the sports may appear similar, I've viewed them as completely different, especially with the position that I played in indoor and now taking on a lot of different, even individual skills with playing beach. So it's been fun just to have that beginner mindset again. Every game, I have no pressure, I feel like, and just be able to learn a ton.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would go for a lot of sports. I mean, it's just that whole environment is what it seems that just could change everything. I believe there's less people on a beach volleyball field than an indoor field or court, if I should be more specific. Um, but what made you specifically want to come to LSU rather than any other school?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to play an extra year of beach. I actually considered doing both in college, but when I was going into college, it wasn't a super strong option for people to do both at the high level. So I wanted indoor to be my focus through undergrad, but then was really excited to get to play and learn beach. So I went on a few visits, and LSU just had a super amazing feel to it that I had never really experienced. Both of the coaches are very, very strong believers and use that and their faith to make every decision, whether it's coaching, recruiting, how they run a practice, how they discipline. So that just felt like something really special that I wanted to be a part of for my last year.
Yeah, and I mentioned this to Coach Brock. I went not to tour LSU, but I've been to LSU because I have family down there, and what a beautiful campus. I don't there's nothing really like it. I mean, you got Mike the Tiger right outside, and it's all fun. Um, and that beach volleyball, I mentioned a lot. It's such a nice facility. You don't really, Coach Brock mentioned to me that you don't really get stuff like that in other schools. But specifically talking about Coach Brock, what is that relationship between you two?
So just in general, I've also noticed that there's a pretty different feel from indoor to beach, just kind of personality wise, like vibe wise, as the young kids call it. But indoor is a little bit more of that like professional suit and tie feel of a relationship. Like, we had a blast in indoor, don't get me wrong, but it was like just a different level of formality, it almost felt like, whereas beach is very laid back in general as an environment. So it's been fun, but definitely an adjustment to have coaches who really desire to be more on that peer level and just develop those relationships with us. So Coach Brock has been amazing. Him and his wife have welcomed the team into their home a few times, which has been really cool. And just getting to be in his office and work with him in the fall was really special.
Me speaking to Coach Brock, he seems like a very open person, and he'll be very upfront with people. Um, but with you specifically, how did you get in the sport of volleyball?
So I have an older sister. Her name's Kayla. She's 3 years older than me. And when she was in fifth grade, she started doing some after school programs for volleyball. Both of us had played softball and swimming growing up. And then she tried out and made the team in sixth grade, just like the little middle school team. And wound up playing club either in sixth or seventh grade. And as the little sister, I had to follow her around everywhere and really wanted to be like her. So I just ended up at all of her practices. I remember I would go down and like hit the ball against the wall and like look back and like see if they were going to invite me to come practice with them, even though I was like 3 years younger. But the two of us would play outside a lot, and I just was around the sport for a good amount of time before I started playing in fifth grade.
As you mentioned swimming, I am currently a swimmer here at Olivet College, so I understand the task of doing it. But what how did excuse me, I'm not speaking well right now.
Great.
With your recruitment through volleyball, specifically indoor, how was that journey for you? Because I know with swimming, I had to do like the NCSA. I had to do a bunch of sign up for a bunch of recruitment websites. Was it daunting for you at all about all that, especially getting D1 offers? Just kind of talk to the show about that.
Yeah, definitely. So that was, I think, the first thing I did that my sister had not done. So ironically, my sister's a little undersized to like play at a big school. I'm 6'6", some rosters say 6'7", and my sister is only 5'9" or 5'10". So she wanted that big school experience and decided to finish playing after a great high school career. And then I had a big growth spurt my sophomore year and started getting some recognition at club tournaments, that kind of stuff. And my parents and I were looking at each other like, we have no idea what we're doing. Like, how are we going to make this happen? But the club that I was playing at the time had a lot of resources on learning about recruiting, how to talk to coaches, what the rules are, because that stuff can be pretty overwhelming. But I actually went to UNC Chapel Hill for my first 2 years. So I committed to them, I believe, fall of my junior year, had a great relationship with the coaches, and really enjoyed my time there before moving on to Florida.
Yeah, and I believe you came from Virginia, if that's correct. So
Yes.
moving from Virginia to UNC, Florida, and now LSU, what have you noticed in maybe a culture change or like food? Because like crawfish is big down in Louisiana. Everybody knows that. So just what has been the culture change like?
Definitely. So going to UNC at first, I don't even think I had a good grasp on like what college was. Like, we weren't a family that grew up rooting for college teams or touring colleges. My parents both went to small schools, so they definitely had it in the plan for my sister and I to attend college, but we just didn't really like dream or talk about that very much. So UNC, I feel like I was definitely like in over my head to start. Like, where am I? UNC is a super prestigious school academically, so there was a lot of challenging parts, but I feel like the adjustment was made easier due to the resources that are offered for college athletes. So the tutors, the just like mentorship, and then having older teammates as kind of your friends and almost big sisters right when you get on campus. So I think what I remember most from Chapel Hill, it feels like forever ago now, but was just the beautiful like college campus feel. Definitely, don't tell LSU or Florida, but like most beautiful campus that I've been on. And it had like more of a like old Southern college feel than Florida and LSU have. Like, they had a street called Franklin Street, and there was cute shops and boutiques and restaurants, and just had that like Southern Belle kind of feel, I guess. And then going to Florida, it was huge. It felt like UNC actually is a little bit smaller, like more mid-sized, I guess you could say, compared to an LSU or a Florida in attendance, and has every person within 100 miles, it feels like, who's a Gator fan. Whereas at UNC, there was NC State and Duke really close by. So there was that rivalry feel where it's Gator Nation down in Gainesville. Like that's all that's going on. It's just about the school. So that was super fun. I remember like going to a coffee shop before I'd even gone to my first practice, and someone was like, "Are you that new transfer we got?" And I'm like, yes, I guess. Like, so people are just like huge Gator fans following the sports. So that was my impression of Florida. And then LSU so far feels really, really similar to that, being the only like super large state school. Everybody in Louisiana is a huge LSU fan. It definitely feels similar to Florida. You have the SEC football feel. So I think these two have been pretty similar so far.
Have you had the chance to go down in New Orleans at all while you've been in Louisiana?
I picked up a teammate from the airport, but that's all that I've been down
You
there
gotta
for.
you
But
gotta go down there. You gotta go down there and try
yeah,
some beignets and coffee, you know?
I know. That's what everyone keeps saying. And I feel like I blew my shot now that we're in season, but maybe
Hey,
towards the end of
you
spring.
still got after postseason, you know, after season, off season. But specifically while you've been playing volleyball, what has been like the weirdest thing that's happened with fans or with just during the game? What has been like the weirdest thing that you've noticed?
Mm, so I'm known for having a lot of like on the court wipeouts. So I'm trying to think through like one of my mom's friends was going through a tough time, so I would send her like little episodes of like Holly stupid things Holly did on TV today or whatever, because the camera would always seem to catch it, whether I was on the bench or on the court. Like I was like drinking water and accidentally squirted in my face or stuff like that. But one that I do remember, we were playing at Texas A&M, and we did a 6-2 mainly at Florida. So I would hit in the front row and then come out for my rotations in the back row. But sometimes I would go into set, like every once in a blue moon. I had played that role more at UNC, so the game wasn't going the way we wanted. And Mary had decided she wanted to change. So I had just gotten off to the bench and I was a little sick that game. So I'd put in a cough drop for my time off. And then Mary was like, Holly, Mia, or like whoever subbed in with me, like, get up there. So I'm like running up there. And then like completely forgot I had the cough drop in, played the point, and then I had like crushed it up in my mouth just through playing. And then the other team had challenged the call. So I was like talking to Shannon, our assistant coach, and I was like, Shannon, can you bring me a cup? Can you bring me a cup? Like I need to spit out my cough drop. But she thought that I just had gum in my mouth. So she's like, here, just spit it here, just spit it here. And I was like, no, a cup. And she was like, spit it. So then of course the camera's on me and I'm like over her hand, like spitting out like pieces of this cough drop. And she like
Oh,
walks back to the bench and she is like, what is in my hand?
oh
Because
no.
she was just offering for gum. But Shannon Wells, coach of the year right there. She really took one for the team. So always remember that as a weird moment.
That, oh gosh, especially getting that caught on TV. Oh no.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. But kind of talking about weird stuff, what specifically, it doesn't have to necessarily relate to beach volleyball or indoor volleyball. What has been like the strangest moment you've known it, like noticed maybe necessarily at LSU?
Our team in general is just really, really goofy. So I feel like we're always laughing and doing dumb stuff, but I can't really think of a specific moment. Sorry.
You're good. We're not live, so you can take as much time as you want.
Okay. Um, okay. So in our team meeting the other day, we were trying to come up with like a buzzword we could use on the team for something we could say to one another when we were struggling to stay positive. Female athletes especially struggle a lot with negative self-talk, like being outwardly negative sometimes. So we wanted like a little word we could say to one another to kind of be like, hey, like I love you, but like snap out of it kind of thing. And so I was actually quarantined when the team was talking about this. So I came in and I was kind of confused what we were going for, like what kind of word. And then all of a sudden, Laura Booz, one of our juniors, was like, I have it. And she said, all right, is everybody ready? It's going to be Nickelback. And we're all like, okay. And then she goes, all right, stick with me. And like some of our freshmen are like, who's Nickelback? I'm like, 6 years older than all these
What?
people. So I won't out them on camera their names, but then she pulls up the song and like Nickelback's top song, and she's like singing it to us, and it's like, when I'm down, you remind me who I really am, something like that. So she's like, that's gonna be our song. When we're down, we're gonna remind each other. And then someone else said we have to come up with a phrase that we're gonna say back to let the other person know that like I'm receiving it, like I'm good, I'm with you. So now we're gonna say dime front back. So I was like, I am part of a team of goobers, but it definitely is just a really fun group who can take anything like and just make it a good time. So
Well, specifically talking about your team currently, how has it been like adjusting? I mean, you've been to two separate schools before here, but has there been any different change or adjustment that you've had to make while coming to LSU?
definitely. So I think, I mean, I spoke about this a little bit before, but there's been a balance of being a newcomer, being new to the sport, having to come in with basically no previous relationships to a whole new group, while also having a lot of experience, more maturity, like stuff like that, that I want to bring and use for the good of the team. So I think that I've just been really amazed by how mature the team is in general. Like this summer, I played in a tournament for fun with one of the sophomores this year. So she was brand new to college last year in a pandemic. Her name's Ellie Shank, and she was just mature and wise beyond her years, like talking about hard things that had happened in the season or things that might not have gone her way, like just the perspective and maturity that she brought to the situation was really, really impressive and inspiring. And I feel like that's generally how um, my relationships have been with my teammates so far. So kind of getting over that age difference or the barrier of like, okay, I'm new, but I'm not part of the freshman class. Like, how do I fit in here? I've just been really impressed and lucky by how awesome the girls are.
And you mentioned the pandemic. Has that kind of changed anything with volleyball? Has there been any new rules specifically with masks or
Yeah, I feel like it's ever changing. So the pandemic happened at Florida after the spring of before my last season there. So we went home and then ended up coming back late summer, and we didn't know if we were going to get to play that season. And then the NCAA actually wound up moving this championship to the spring. So indoor volleyball has always been a fall sport. I had lined it up to graduate in December. I had already committed to LSU to play for them this past season in the spring, and my last indoor championship was moved to the spring. So that definitely put a wrench in the plans, but that Florida team was part of my life, who I'd committed to a work that I wanted to finish with them. So SEC wound up playing both fall and spring. So we did a year-long season, which was a little daunting at times, but ultimately so worth the sacrifices. And the like mask mandates or testing rules, I feel like have changed 100 times since we've started the season. So it's really challenged each team that I've been on that's been a part of it to just adjust to adversity and kind of roll with the punches, which I think is a great thing for any team to learn to come together through. So
I had something in my head, but I completely forgot it. But I think we can move on to our next section of the show. It's called Hot Cakes and Hot Takes. For those who have it's first time listening, Hot Cakes and Hot Takes is a section of the show where we talk about our unpopular opinions. It doesn't have to be related to sports. Like previously, Holly, we mentioned, is a hot dog a sandwich? Is water wet? Like, so it can really be anything. You can take your time. We're not live.
well, something that I just got roasted for the other night by my very own remaining teammate, Kylie. So I made hot chocolate, and I'm a huge fan of anything salty sweet, like salted chocolate or like kettle corn. Like, I just love salt on my sweet things. So I made hot chocolate, and then we have little like electric salt and pepper shakers, and I put a little bit of salt on top. And then the next morning, it was me, Kylie, and Hannah. And I think we were driving to workouts, and she was like, Holly, I have to ask you something, but did you like put salt or pepper when you made hot chocolate last night? And she was like disgusted with it. And I was like, I feel like it's pretty normal, but I've kind of found that response in general. At Starbucks, I asked for like a packet of salt in my coffee because it like makes the sweetener pop for me. So I have a salted coffee with me here right now. So I would say that's a controversial opinion that I have.
I've honestly never heard that ever. I mean, if it's good to you, I mean, hey, but
Yeah.
what's different? What makes it taste different for you if you don't salt it? Is it like specifically a coffee? Was it more bitter if you don't, or?
Uh, that's a good question. I mean, definitely drink coffee that's not salted as well, but I just feel like it adds like a little something something to it, like a little pop to the flavor. But I don't know. It's not like a deal breaker, but it's definitely something that I enjoy.
How long have you been doing that for? Is there just like
Um,
just you just kind of started doing it and then
so over COVID, I feel like this really justifies my argument, but it was probably late spring of 2020, like when we were really shut down. And I was staying with my sister and her husband, and then they had a Starbucks like pretty close. So I would go on little Starbucks runs, like give them alone time because I had officially moved in on their marriage. So I was like, let me get out of the house every once in a while. But they had this feature drink then that was a salted cream cold foam, and there was no flavor or anything. It was just like, the foam on top of the Starbucks drinks. So it was like the foam with classic sweetener and a packet of salt on top of cold brew. And it was like the best drink of
it
my
tastes
life.
like good? Okay.
It was
I
really
mean,
good. Yeah.
I
So
mean, I guess it makes sense if you like tried it and you liked it. I mean, to continue to do that. That's just so I've just never heard anybody do that before. Because we got a Starbucks here at Olivet, and like I just never seen that before. But okay. That's a good one, honestly. But with but with the coffee, like is you mentioned that your teammates were like roasted. Is it still kind of like a joke between you guys and you and the team?
I mean, it just happened like 3 days ago that Kylie busted me for it. So hopefully she won't out me to the rest of the team. But we are known for kind of making fun of each other. So I wouldn't be surprised if it made its way through.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's a big family, so who
Yes,
knows?
exactly.
Um, well, Holly, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Where can our listeners find you?
Actually, I'm kind of on an Instagram hiatus right now, but I still check it every once in a while on my laptop. But I'm kind of trying to remove myself from social media for a little bit just to prioritize relationships, reading the Bible, just kind of being present. But if they want to hit me with a follow, I think it's Holly_Carlton1 on Instagram. But other than that, I'm not on the other ones.
Everybody can follow the Foam Finger at foamfinger_pod on Twitter, Instagram, and follow our Facebook group called the Foam Finger, and then follow our YouTube channel called Foam Finger, as well as our TikTok called foamfinger_pod. This is the end of our show. Again, Holly, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. My name is Parker.
It's Holly. Thanks again for having me.